there, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You're watching KUTV News at 9. Let's get the highlights. Wakairo residents in Juja constituency expressed their frustrations with their local leaders' lack of effort in managing the flood situation affecting their businesses. Members of Parliament urged to utilize NGCDF fund in reconstruction of classrooms and roads destroyed by floods. JSS Teachers demand permanent and pensionable employment terms from their employer TSC. And government to disburse 10,000 to each household displaced by floods in Nairobi as compensation fee, says President William Ruto. Remember, we are also live on YouTube at KUTV News Kenya, and you can send us your feedback on X at KUTV_Kenya at Anyango Sylvia KE. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Lucy Kierie, and I'm Anyango Sylvia. We begin. Now, residents of Wakairo, Theta Ward, Juja constituency are frustrated with their local leadership following the impact of ongoing rains in the country. According to the residents, lack of proper drainage is among the challenges they are facing during this rainy season. Our reporter Caroline Kimwele visited the area and prepared this report.
The impact of the ongoing rains in the country continues to distress residents of Wakairo, Theta Ward, Juja constituency in Kiambu County. The breaking of sewage pipes, spread of dirt, and fear of diseases are just some of the concerns that residents fear will worsen as the rain continues to fall.
Barabara imeharibika sana, mazingira ni chafu, sewage zinafungana, maji hatuna, lakini mheshimiwa MCA haonekani.
According to residents, transportation and sanitation have been disrupted in this area due to the poor condition of the roads.
Kutokana na hii mvua ambayo inanyesha kila kuchao, tuko na shida mingi kwa sababu tamka asubuhi hivi nimekuja job hapa. Nitakuja kufanya job hapa hivi. So songo wangu anajua already mimi nimeingia kazi. So mimi nikifika hapa kumeflood. Hadi sasa nashindwa venye nitaanza job.
Road users have no choice but to scramble for the limited space available for movement.
Watu wametry venye wanaweza nini maji but bado iko tu inaenda tu ikiongezeka. Kwanza mvua ikinyesha mob unaweza pata hadi imefika mpaka huko kwa ile mlango and hakuna kitu mnaweza fanya.
Border riders have had to double their prices due to the risk of their bikes getting damaged. A few meters from here, the Ruto River has overflowed. According to residents, it has never had this much water before.
Mnavyoona hapa kuna mafuriko mingi sana. Hata tunaogopa tukiwa hapa juu hii maji inapitiaga hapa juu. Kwanza watoto kukaribia hapa saa hii, it's not safe ban. Pia sisi hatuko safe. Ukiangalia hii mtu hata hatujui kesho yake tutapitia wapi.
Kuanzia mvua ianze kunyesha, sasa ndio maji imekuwa mengi zaidi. Na hofu yangu ni kwamba, yani unajua vile naishi huko juu, wale wamejenga karibu na mto, tafadhali kuliko kuambiwa na serikali waondoke, heli waondoke kwa izali yao. Manake hii maji inaenda ikiongezeka mara kwa mara.
There are growing concerns that the overflow could become dangerous for residents.
Mheshimiwa William Samoei Ruto
ni mheshimiwa mzuri sana, lakini shughuli yake mahali anakosea ni mahali kidogo. Hii maji tangu yaanze kufurika mafuriko, sijai sikia ati mheshimiwa ameenda kurekebisha mahali. Yeye kazi yake ni kusema watoto wakae nyumbani mpaka until father's notice.
All eyes are now on the government and local leadership to take precautionary measures before things get out of hand. Caroline Kimwele, KUTV, Kiambu County.
Now, still on floods, President William Ruto has highlighted that the government will disburse 10,000 shillings to each displaced household in Nairobi as compensation fee. According to President Ruto, no Kenyan will sleep hungry due to the ongoing rains, calling on Kenyans to maintain safety as the government makes future plans on managing the situation. Listen in.
President William Ruto was today received at Mathare area for a spot check, where he was accompanied by Interior Cabinet Secretary Kutv. Ruto, who engaged with the affected residents, stated that 10,000 will be disbursed to them for support as the government plans on the way forward.
Mwananchi atalala njaa, hakuna mtoto atalala njaa. Tutalete chakula ya kutosha, kila mwananchi apate chakula mpaka pale kila mtu atakuwa amejipanga na vile mambo yake yanaendesha kawaida. Kwa hivyo mimi nataka niwatangazie tumeweka pesa ya kutosha ya kununua chakula, na chakula tumenunua ya kutosha.
On resuming of schools for the second term, Ruto highlighted that plans are already in place to ensure that schools are reconstructed and learning resumed. Ruto, however, has stated that the lost days will be compensated, calling on parents to ensure their children are safe for schools reopening.
And already the government has committed 1 billion shillings to make sure that all schools are reconstructed so that when schools open, all our children will go to class. And we have also announced here that the 40,000 families that have been relocated, the 40,000 households, each household, we are going to provide for them 10,000 shillings for alternative settlement until the government comes up with a comprehensive plan.
However, Ruto has showered praise on the affordable housing project, where he has stated that the area left clear by the ongoing floods will be used to construct houses. Ruto has confirmed that the affected residents will be given priority in renting the houses.
Hii riparian reserve yote hii riparian reserve yote mahali wananchi wameondoka. Sasa tutakuwa na mpango ile niliwaambia, mpango ya housing ambayo itasaidia sisi. Hawa wananchi wanaishi katika slums, na tuko na wananchi zaidi ya milioni 7 Kenya wanaoishi katika slums kama hizi. Na ndio nilisema lazima tuwe na mpango ya serikali, na ndio nikaanzisha hazina ya housing.
Now, the government has put in place measures for the expedition of the collection of the final batch of 45,000 passports, which are now ready, and which constitute the last batch of over 700,000 passports whose production was delayed. Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kutv has reiterated the government's plan of transforming the service delivery in relation to the issuance of the Kenyan passport, as well as creating efficiency in the delivery of critical citizen services, notably identity documents, birth certificates, passports, as well as the management of foreign nationals in Kenya. This is through the expedition measures put in place of the collection of the final batch of 45,000 passports, which are now ready. According to Kindiki, review is ongoing of the Kenya Citizenship and Immigration Act and regulations thereunder, the Kenya Citizens and Foreign Nationals Management Service Act, the Security Laws Act, the Counter Trafficking in Persons Act, the Refugee Act, the Registration of Persons Act, the Births and Deaths Registration Act, and other relevant laws to consolidate and actualize the reform agenda. 5 days ago, on 30th April, the Migration Department announced that they were experiencing a downtime that halted passport application receiving and collection services. The process then resumed on Thursday, 2nd May. The failure occurred despite the accusation of 2 new printing machines with the capacity to print close to 600 passports in an hour, as disclosed by Immigration and Citizen Services Principal Secretary Julius Bitok during the annual meeting of senior managers for agencies and directorates on Friday, April 12th. The government had also set a target to issue at least 1 million passports by the end of 2024 from 533,000 in previous years, and at the same time issue 3 million digital national IDs and increase daily collection of 1 billion shillings from the e-citizen platform through its various services. Anyango, Sylvia, KUTV. And as Kenyans continue to cope with the loss incurred as a result of flooding which has continuously destroyed properties in the country, the government has promised to extend its helping hand to the citizen through reconstruction of damaged infrastructure and at the same time provide basic needs required, both food and non-food items. This story was produced by Brenda Nyongesa. With schools intended to reopen for second term, the national chairperson of the Committee of Transport and Infrastructure, who is also the Member of Parliament in Ndia constituency, George Kariuki, has said that there will be reconstruction of the roads and schools that have been affected by the heavy rain. Kariuki is calling on members of the Parliament to use the National Government Constituencies Development Fund to repair classes.
Barabara mingi zetu zimeharibika. Zimekatika, bridges na box culverts na barabara za maram za rami zote mingi zimeharibika.
Kariuki noted that Mwea constituency has 560 kilometers of non-farm roads which cut across the rice farms and require more attention to help farmers continue with their activities. He noted that it is high time for the national government to find a way to help farmers so as to minimize the 3,000 farmers who contribute to the National Irrigation Authority.
Itakuwa jambo mzuri sana tukishirikiana county government, national government kurekebisha hizo barabara, ndio tractors na mashine zingine zile tunatumia kwa ukulima ziweze kuingia kwa mashamba na watu wetu waweze kufanya kazi ya ukulima vyenye huwa wanafanya.
Kirinyaga Deputy Speaker and Muthiti Member of the County Assembly, Gennaro Jamumo, has called on Kenyans to be cautious during this rainy season, saying that it is high time for people to take their personal responsibility of protecting themselves before seeking assistance from the government.
Nyumba kitu mrefu ambayo inaweza angushwa na upepo, hata kama ni ile machuma mnaweka maerio nini, jaribu muone kama iko fit kabisa, kwa sababu siku zijazo kama 5 hawa wadadisi wa hewa wanasema kuna hiyo mvurutano.
Tembere Ward Member of County Assembly Peter Karinga highlighted that Kirinyaga County Government has shown support by providing basic needs to the affected family.
Anashughulikia mafuriko na hiyo kamiti imeanza kazi, ilikuwa Tembere na ikatuletea matinga, tukatengeneza mitaro, tukatengeneza tukahamisha watu wengine, na ningeomba katika bajeti ambayo tunakuja tuongeze pesa za emergency kwa sababu hii mambo ya disaster imekuwa nyingi.
Both the national and county governments have been called on to provide funds to deploy doctors to deal with the likely breakout of waterborne diseases. Junior Secondary School JSS Teachers hired on internship basis have continued with their plea to their Employer Teacher Service Commission, that is TSC, to transfer them to permanent and pensionable terms based on the court ruling. Led by their leaders in Kirinyaga County, Josephat Kariuki, Emily Mwangi and Moses Gachoki, the teachers affirmed that the court ruling termed internship for trained and registered teachers as unconstitutional and rendered it illegal. The teachers further say that it is the time for TSC to confirm them to offer services to students with complaints that the stipend is too low with the taxes being deducted. Late last month, JSS teachers from across the country also held protests over their current employment terms.
TSC ilipewa court order. Na hiyo court order ilikuwa inasema internship ni illegal. Inasema ikiwa illegal basi it is our right kukompensetiwa.
Sisi kama intern tunafinyiliwa sana. Hatufai hata kuitwa intern, hata koti imesema hivyo, hatufai kuitwa intern. Ile mshahara ambayo tunapewa haitumudu maisha yetu. Sasa kama saa hii tuna struggle kwa sababu ile mshahara hata tunapewa inakatwa alafu unabaki hakuna kitu. Sasa wengi wetu tunaanza familia Kama huyu ataenda aulize pesa iko wapi, hana.
Now that is quite unfortunate, but we take a very fast break on the bulletin tonight. We'll be back with more stories. Don't go far.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
But folks, I'm going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
Pepo pasi vuguvugu. Pepo pa ni idea.
Tazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na waasi wa ADF.
Kwa sasa wanatoa wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika eneo hili.
Zaidi tunajaribu kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili. Hiyo inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni Dunia ni leo, Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa, moja kwa moja kutoka VOA Swahili, Washington DC.
Kaunti maarufu kwa kuzalisha maziwa na ukuzaji wa majani chai. Pia, serikali ya kaunti inawahimiza wakulima kukumbatia mitindo mingine ya kilimo kuzidisha mapato.
Kama kuna kikundi moja inafanya biashara ya kuuza kuku, hao pia tumewafadhili kuwafunza jinsi ya kuhandle zile kuku kwa sababu wanaleta kwa wingi.
Haya yote tunakuletea katika Boresha Kilimo, toleo la kaunti ya Bomet.
Kilimo ni nguzo kubwa kwa ujenzi wa taifa.
From the hospital corridors, we bring you experts to discuss issues affecting your health, from diet to mental health. The familiar and the ignored are both put into perspective. We then dive into the environment and look at the effects of climate change and its solutions. Join me, Mutegi K. Martin, every Friday at 9 p.m. as we learn on how to better our health while taking care of our environment. Only on KUTV.
Access to knowledge, solution to unanswered questions.
Guidelines to pursuing your rights and repossessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more, only on Law Matters.
Welcome back. Remember to keep engaging with us on our social media platforms on X at KUTV_Kenya at Anyango Sylvia KE. Now moving on, youth leaders from Mwea and Makima Ward in Embu County have called on the government to partner with organizations that are in forefront in the fight against drug and alcohol abuse. According to the leaders, a lot of campaigns on dangers of drug and alcohol abuse need to be carried out, especially among the youth who are increasingly getting hooked to the vices. Mwema Youth Alliance patron Nicholas Kasanga said this will only be successful if the government and leaders across the country agree to work with established anti-drug crusader groups.
And my plea to government, I request the government to be partnering with associations, organizations which are already established to ensure that they do as much of this program, because we have seen that we need such of programs that deals with drug abuse in different sectors.
Tunaomba wazazi waweze kuachilia wanafunzi na youth pia, na pia wale youth ambao pia wanaweza kuwa wamaliza shule, they come together ili kuja tuweze kusaidiana. We do this thing together. Inawezekana tukishikana mkono.
Some residents of Nairobi's suburbs are up in arms over what they say is illegal construction of high-rise buildings in their neighborhoods, mainly by Chinese developers. Juma Majanga reports from Nairobi.
In Nairobi's Kilimani suburbs, residents like Cherotich say are pondering their next move to stop what they say is illegal construction in their estate.
What we are suffering from now is unplanned construction. If you don't have sewage, you don't have wider roads, you don't have fire stations, you don't have enough schools, you don't have hospitals, all you're doing is just building and building and building accommodation without the requisite planning.
Kilimani is one of the areas where residents are speaking out against the construction of high-rise buildings. Architect Alfred Omenya heads urban development consultancy EcoBuild Africa.
A lot of the buildings that we are seeing around here do not even meet that same City Hall's development control requirements. And they're approved in City Hall. They're actually approved in City Hall. And I can say this without fear of contradiction. For donkey years, City Hall has been the citadel of corruption.
Cherotich claims Chinese firms are using corrupt practices to circumvent legal procedures.
And I really call out the Chinese Property Developers Association here. They're complicit. They have understood the propensity and appetite for corruption that you find in this county, and they have exploited it to the hilt.
City government officials declined VOA's request for comment, and Chinese builders did not respond to VOA's request for a response to the claims. Economist XN Iraqi, however, says Chinese contractors have brought efficiency to the construction industry.
Lest there be competition. I think that is going to raise the Kenyan construction industry. The Kenyan expertise are going to run something. In the long run, the customers are going to benefit because there's no competition. We shall do shorter work, we cannot be efficient.
The Kenyan constitution requires involvement of citizens on governance decisions on issues that affect them.
Whereas the law provides very elaborately about public participation, and we have adequate legislation around that, but the practice itself is still being done as a lip service. We still have the government officers calling for public participation when they've already made a decision. So they're doing it just to tick the boxes.
Heavy rains and deadly flooding in Kenya recently are compounding problems caused by unplanned construction, says Omenya.
By the time you have those high-rise buildings, you are not likely, especially in these areas where we're looking at 1 acre development, the entire space is going to be concrete. Where does that water go?
And as the World Bank projects 70% of the global population will live in cities by 2050, experts say planning will be key for cities like Nairobi. Juma Majanga, VOA News, Nairobi.
Moving on to sports news tonight, NCBA Nairobi Local Tour Golf event was shifted from Thika Sports Club to Windsor due to heavy rains in the country. The tournament was moved to Windsor, which has also taken a beating from the rains, but is in a good playable condition. Despite the conditions, the junior played some impressive golf with 2 categories decided via a playoff. First in the playoffs was the girls between 13 and 14 years old, and the second category was the boys of 12 years old. And now, next leg awaits them at the Royal Nairobi Golf Club in a week's time. And the 28th round of Kenya Premier League saw Tusker FC thrashing Nzoia Sugar after scoring 1-0 and now sit 2 points behind Police FC. Tusker players James Kibande scored for them in the 79th minute, securing the 3 points. Currently, Tusker remains third in the Kenya Premier League table with 49 points. The loss of Nzoia Sugar team has destroyed their hope of getting out of the relegation zone. Now that is it from us tonight. Thank you so much for keeping us company here on KUTV News at 9. Our sign language interpreter tonight has been Lucy Kiarie and Anyango Sylvia. Have a good night.